Fix this, kid, and I'll give you $100 million. Dr. Harrison Blake jabbed his finger at 8-year-old Maya Williams like she was a pest. The little girl froze, clutching her backpack while her mother emptied trash around 200 silent investors. Blake's face twisted with cruel amusement. Maybe a child can solve what my MIT graduates can't. Vicious laughter rippled through MathCore Industries' boardroom. Maya's mother grabbed her arm, trying to drag her toward the exit. 2 million livestream viewers watched the billionaire CEO destroy a little girl's dignity for sport. Behind Blake, screens blazed with error messages. His billion-dollar AI system had crashed 3 days ago. His team of experts stood helpless, shoulders slumped in defeat. Maya stared at those screens with unusual intensity. Her small fingers twitched like she was solving invisible equations. None of the adults noticed the spark of recognition in her dark eyes. They were about to learn the most expensive lesson of their lives. The crisis had started 72 hours earlier when MathCore's autonomous vehicle AI began making fatal calculation errors. Cars were crashing. Lawsuits were mounting. Blake's stock price had hemorrhaged $3 billion in 3 days. Now, in this marble-walled boardroom overlooking Manhattan, Blake faced the vultures. Toyota's executives sat stone-faced in the front row. BMW's team whispered urgently in German. Ford's representatives kept checking their phones, probably calculating how much market share they'd gain from MathCore's collapse. Ladies and gentlemen, Blake's voice carried the desperation he tried to hide. We're experiencing temporary technical difficulties with our core algorithm. My team assures me we'll have a solution within— Temporary? Toyota's CEO cut him off. Your system killed 4 people in Tokyo yesterday. Blake's jaw clenched. Behind him, 50 engineers hunched over laptops, their faces glowing blue in the screen light. Harvard PhDs, MIT graduates, Stanford prodigies, the best minds money could buy, all failing spectacularly. Dr. Sarah Carter, his lead architect, approached with trembling hands. Blake, we've tried everything. Machine learning recalibration, neural network restructuring, complete algorithm rewrites. Nothing works. The live stream counter in the corner showed 2.3 million viewers now. Tech blogs were calling it the death of MathCore. Social media buzzed with memes about Blake's arrogance finally catching up to him. Maya watched from her corner, invisible to everyone except her mother, who worked methodically around the chaos. The little girl had been coming to these buildings since she could walk. While other kids played with toys, Maya studied the glowing numbers on abandoned monitors. She'd learned to read from discarded programming manuals, taught herself basic logic from overheard conversations between exhausted engineers. Her playground was the server room. Her lullabies were the hum of cooling fans. Blake paced like a caged animal. This is why we maintain standards, he announced to no one in particular. Real programming requires proper education, Ivy League credentials, years of rigorous training. His eyes swept the room dismissively. You can't just walk in off the street and understand complex systems. Intelligence isn't democratic. It's cultivated through privilege, breeding, and elite institutions. Maya's mother, Rosa, bent over another trash bin. 20 years of cleaning these buildings. 20 years of watching brilliant people solve impossible problems while her daughter sat forgotten in corners. The irony would have been beautiful if it weren't so cruel. Blake's phone buzzed constantly. Board members, shareholders, competitors smelling blood. Every major tech company was preparing acquisition bids for MathCore's patents once the bankruptcy hit. Sir? His assistant whispered urgently. The automotive executives are threatening to leave. Blake straightened his tie, forcing confidence he didn't feel. This demonstration was supposed to showcase MathCore's dominance. Instead, it was his public execution. The room's tension was suffocating. Billion-dollar deals hung in balance. Thousands of jobs waited for the verdict. The future of autonomous vehicles itself teetered on the edge of this single moment. Maya shifted in her chair, her young mind processing patterns that escaped the adults around her. She'd been watching their screens for an hour now, watching them chase complex theories while missing something beautifully simple. But she was just a kid, a cleaner's daughter, someone to be ignored, dismissed, forgotten. Blake checked his watch. The presentation was supposed to last 2 hours. He'd already burned through 45 minutes of stammering excuses and technical delays. Perhaps, suggested BMW's representative with German precision, we should consider alternative partnerships. Companies with more reliable systems. The words hit Blake like physical blows. His empire was crumbling in real time, broadcast to millions, witnessed by the industry's most powerful players. Rosa finished with the last trash bin and moved toward Maya. Time to go. Time to let the important people handle important things. But Maya's eyes remained fixed on those screens, her mind racing through possibilities that would change everything. What happens when the one person with the answer is the one nobody thinks to ask? Maya stood up as her mother reached for her hand. "Mommy, wait!" Rosa looked embarrassed. "Maya, no, these people are busy." But Maya's eyes stayed locked on the main display screen. Numbers and alerts flashed everywhere. While the engineers frantically typed, Maya saw something they'd missed completely. Blake was explaining to the automotive executives why they needed more time when Maya's small voice cut through the tension. "Excuse me." The room went quiet. 200 heads turned toward an 8-year-old girl who had no business speaking in this billion-dollar crisis. Blake's face darkened. "Not now, sweetheart. The adults are working." Maya took 3 steps forward, her backpack bouncing. "I think I see what's wrong." Uncomfortable chuckles rippled through the investor crowd. Toyota's CEO raised an eyebrow. BMW's team exchanged amused glances. "That's very sweet." Blake's voice dripped condescension. "But this is rocket science, honey. Maybe you should stick to coloring books." Dr. Carter started to intervene, but Maya pressed forward with startling confidence. "The computer is confused." Blake gestured at the wall of flashing screens. "Yes, obviously it's malfunctioning. That's why we have 50 experts trying to—" "No," Maya interrupted with unusual certainty. "It's not broken. It just doesn't understand what you're asking." The room fell silent. Every engineer stopped typing. Maya pointed at the main screen. "Right there. You're telling the computer to do something, but you meant to ask it a question." Dr. Carter squinted at the display, following Maya's finger to a specific line of code buried among thousands. "It's like when you say your name is Sarah instead of asking, 'Is your name Sarah?'" Maya explained simply. "The computer gets mixed up." Blake's confidence wavered slightly. That's not how programming works." "Can I show you?" Maya asked with fearless childhood curiosity. The live stream viewer count hit 3 million. Comments flooded in faster than moderators could process them. #8-year-old vs CEO began trending worldwide. Toyota's CEO leaned forward with interest. "I'd like to see what the child suggests." Blake felt trapped. Refusing would look petty. Agreeing would legitimize a child's opinion over his team's expertise. "Fine," he said through gritted teeth. "Dr. Carter, let her point out whatever she thinks she sees. When nothing happens, perhaps we can return to serious work." Maya walked to Dr. Carter's workstation, completely unintimidated by the room full of powerful adults watching her every move. "Here," she pointed at the screen. "The computer thinks you're changing something instead of checking something. You need to fix how you ask the question." Dr. Carter stared at the line Maya indicated, such a tiny detail buried in millions of calculations. Her fingers trembled as she made the smallest possible change, one keystroke, one tiny symbol. She hit enter. The room held its collective breath. Error messages continued cascading for a moment. Then, one by one, they began disappearing. System status lights shifted from angry red to cautious yellow to triumphant green. Within 60 seconds, every screen showed perfect operation. The AI system hummed back to life, running smoothly for the first time in 3 days. Maya smiled with quiet satisfaction. Sometimes computers just need you to ask nicely. Blake stood frozen, watching his billion-dollar crisis dissolve because of advice from a child who wasn't even old enough for high school. The room erupted in whispers. Phones buzzed with urgent messages. The automotive executives sat up straighter, suddenly very interested in continuing negotiations. But this was just the beginning. What happens when an 8-year-old embarrasses the smartest people in the room on live television? The room exploded into chaos. Engineers rushed to their screens, confirming what seemed impossible. The system was running perfectly. 3 days of failure fixed by a child's observation. Blake's face cycled through disbelief, embarrassment, and growing anger. That can't be right. One tiny change? Our entire team missed one tiny change? Dr. Carter pulled up system diagnostics, her voice shaking with amazement. Blake, she's right. The response time has improved by 40%. Error rates dropped to 0. Toyota's CEO stood up, suddenly animated. Show us the performance metrics. The main screen is filled with green bars and upward trending graphs. Every measurement showed dramatic improvement. The automotive executives leaned forward, whispering excitedly among themselves. Blake felt his authority slipping away like sand. Even if that's true, which I find hard to believe, anyone could have spotted that eventually. It was just a matter of time. Maya tilted her head with the innocent